Hey, how you doing? Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Tarot Flow Show, where synchronicity is the star. And I'm your host, Alison Pickering. It is my pleasure to be here with you today and to be with my adorable co-host, the Scandinavian savant student of all things spiritual, Kefri Scarabus. Whoops, let's bring in Kefri before we bring in Heather, shall we? Hey, Kefri. How you doing?
Hi, Alison.
Welcome.
I'm fine. Thank you.
So we have the opportunity today to actually be on opposite sides of the same apartment, which is a lot of fun because normally we're on opposite sides of the globe. We had never met until just recently when I had a chance to come to the beautiful country of Sweden and have a chance to visit someone that we've been studying together for 4 years in our tarot group. And to have a chance to meet him face to face has been a wonderful experience. And he's been a great tour guide and showed me all kinds of fabulous things. And you're going to see him throwing some cards and shuffling some cards as we talk here to our wonderful guest upcoming. And we're so very happy to have with us today the free-spirited, the kind, the whimsical, the brave, resilient, and creative. She's a Cancer mindset coach, which tells me that she is a survivor and a beautiful thriver and a helper of others. And that's a wonderful thing. So let us welcome to the stage the beautiful and adorable Heather Mullen. Welcome, Heather Mullen. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hi, everyone.
So
nice to be here.
It's great to have you here. And you were one of the first people to kind of jump in and say, I'd love to be on the show when the opportunity was put out there to our little business group that we participate in. And I so appreciate the trust. Tell me what was interesting to you about this, or what experience you have with intuition and spirituality. It sounds like you've done a lot. So tell us a little bit about your experiences.
I grew up Catholic, so it was very taboo. But I've always been a free thinker and kind of out of the box and free spirit, as you introduced me as. And so when I was given my diagnosis, that really shifted a lot of things for me. And in that shift, I really started to seek alternative therapies, and also to step into my intuition, and which has always been there, but I have always been taught that it was evil or bad. And I chose to, in that awakening, in that journey of healing, I embraced my intuition. And with that came connecting with different mentors, different healers. And so I really started to, work with, I haven't really worked with tarot cards per se, but oracle cards and just other healing modalities. Like I'm an energy healer. So that works a lot with my intuition.
Of course.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And you're working on a deck yourself, aren't you?
I did design a deck. It is ready and out in people's hands already.
Congratulations. Tell us a little bit about it.
It is a 32 card affirmation card deck for Cancer. So it's actually affirmations that are mine. I wrote them. I journaled on them. I use them even to this day as I navigate the challenges of being in remission. So I just, they supported me so much on my journey, because I would use those affirmations, write them, journal about them, and kind of just live into them whenever I needed to shift that mindset. So I was just inspired to create a deck, because I am also an artist. So to create a deck that those affirmations could be beneficial for other people going through this journey.
Wonderful. Well, blessings on you and much success, and may those cards make their way into the hands of all of us who need them. I certainly could have used it when I was going through my journey with cancer, which is now over like 15 years ago. Thank God. I'm so glad to be able to live to tell. So
yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I'm so glad that you're here with us today. Let's take a look at what we're going to be doing today as we look at our slides here. We're going to um, pick a focus card after we have a chance to tour the major arcana, and we'll make a few connections with that. And then we're going to jump into the reading. And as always, a reading is not like this is what's happening, and we're not telling the future. And we're really having an opportunity, and maybe this resonates for you, Heather. We talk about that we kind of go along our life in our timeline. You know, we go horizontally, and we go from day to day, and we go through it. But there are times that we connect with our intuition, or we are into prayer or meditation or some other kind of thing, and that gives us a chance to kind of go into the moment. And go into the moment more deeply. And so I'm going to say that this is our moment to go a little bit deeper and see what the cards are going to show us in this moment, and see what opportunity we have to explore what those images can give us that is productive to think about, that's worth considering, that's worth our time to talk about, and worth anyone's interior time to really think about and expand with. And so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So as we think about the tarot cards, for anybody, we're going to blaze through these. So if they're new to you, feel free to go back to some of our earlier episodes. We'll have a little bit more of an explanation. But the main character here is this Fool character. And this is neither man nor woman nor child nor animal. Really, it's an archetypal entity, or an archetype that lives within our psyche, but we're representing it with this Fool character. He's got a really ornate garment. He's ready to go at it again. And his little animal self, which is like our body, is saying, no, no, because we feel a lot of fear in our bodies and in our instinctive self, which is what that animal is really representing, our instinctive self. And yet the spirit is willing. And so there's that idea of willingness, the willingness to jump into this. And I appreciate your willingness to jump into this today, Heather. And as we look at these major arcana, we could kind of oversimplify perhaps a bit, but say that when we look at the majors, this is like the journey of the soul. And on the top row, we could see, let's say, our initial internal gifts and our home life. Okay, this is again very oversimplified, but it's useful to think about the idea that with those first two cards, the Magician and High Priestess, we have our masculine and feminine polarity inside us. And then we have a physical mother and a father in this world, whether we knew them or not. And then we've been educated into the social mores. You had a Catholic upbringing. I had a different kind of upbringing, but we both were bred to believe what we believed as children and as young adults. You know, that's the Hierophant, the social mores. We get into relationships. We have friendships and relationships. And then we go outside of where we first started with that Chariot card, and then we're into our adult years. And let's look at that middle row as the lessons of adulthood. We have to deal with our passions and our strengths. We have to deal with our solitude and our path. We have to deal with other people's stuff as we bump into it, and the learning. You know, all of those characters in the corners of the Wheel of Fortune have books. We have laws that we have to deal with, either the laws of the land or the laws of our own internal ethics or the laws of our family, for example, whatever it is that governs us. And we usually have many layers of those. And we also have how we kind of act or are in agreement with or in conflict with the world around us. That might be the Hanged Man. Sometimes we're in the same time frame as everybody else, and sometimes we're just hung up. Like the pandemic or like a diagnosis, it doesn't necessarily mean death, but it can be just something large that moves through your life like that death card does, and you have to respond to it. You can't not respond to it. And so you are changed by this thing that comes through. And then you have to kind of figure out what's your mix, what's your cocktail, what's going to be the thing that gives you the right way, your pathway, that balances you. And then I'll take us off screen for a moment as we look here at the bottom row. And the bottom row is like states of consciousness. And that Devil card could represent a very materialistic state of consciousness, or a very greedy state of consciousness where it's just about the stuff, or it's just about power, something along those lines. And then oftentimes, that because that isn't the only thing, reality will come and knock the crown off of that, flip our lid, do all kinds of things, and throw us for a loop if that's what we're very attached to. And then we're left with our kind of naked self. What do we do? Who are we? What are we really about with that star card? And then we have the moon card, which kind of represents the emotional path as we try to figure things out after these large upheavals. And then we often will feel a feeling of liberation with that sun figure, where we have an infusion of spiritual energy or a liberation of some sort. And it's kind of carrying us at this point. We're kind of as a child. And then it represents a new awakening, and then a victory over, having gone through this whole cycle. And there we are with that world card then at the ending, at the beginning, and like the Fool card, ready to go again. And so as we think about this Fool card and these other 21 cards, are there any among these, Heather, that kind of appeal to you to kind of pick apart and analyze as we look at the one card?
The sun.
The sun. Beautiful. It's a beautiful card. And Kefri's going to go ahead and put up our interface. And let's get that up on screen then. The beautiful sun card. So as we look at that sun card, we can see that there's a little child. And maybe we've heard that expression that, we must come to him as a small child. It also represents that innocence of youth and the need of a child to be guided. And so this child is not controlling the horse that they're on. There are sunflowers behind. There's a big, what the child does have in hand is this big victorious solar banner that has that beautiful red color. And then you have this sun behind with kind of a benign expression. And both masculine and feminine kind of rays coming off of it with the straight lines and the curved lines. Kefri, what are some other things that as we analyze this card, as we kind of break it into pieces and look at its component parts, what are some other things to consider with the sun card?
Thank you, Alison. The four sunflowers is, of course, the four elements. But there is also three sunflowers grouped and one sunflower separate. And that's the three element of alchemy for those who know them. The tria prima element, that is the fire, the water, and the earth. But the air is not there because that's the fourth one. And it is also salt, mercury, and sulfur, if you look at them as another substance, so to speak. And also the horse here, all horses in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck is feminine. So this horse is the feminine power, and the young child here could be said to be the young masculine power, or the power inside of us, so to speak, the little child or something like that. And the banner is red, and if you look at that, it represents the planet Mars, and those who know the Tree of Life know that is in the Sephira of the energy spot of Gevura, it's called, and that is also severity. And that is in here too, the power that is in the combination of the feminine and the masculine inside of us, so to speak. And you can also see it like a young soul riding on a feminine energy. You can also see it like that. So that is some of it in this card.
Well, that's a whole bunch of arcane information. So, Heather, I'm sure that you probably had a more holistic kind of perhaps an emotional response to it, which is really ultimately the real deal on here. We're kind of taking it apart because we are students of this and we enjoy that kind of thing. But what's the feeling tone that you got that appealed to you or that made you choose this card?
Basically, honestly, because I've been working a lot on my inner child. So, and I'm a horse girl. So when I saw that, I just kept looking back at that card, and I just felt that there was a reason that I needed to see more.
Wonderful. So you're a horse girl. Do you have a horse of your own?
I
How wonderful.
do.
Oh, what's your horse's name?
His name is Tate Najee.
Tate Najee.
Because his breed is they're the last horses of Sitting Bull.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So his name is Lakota for wind spirit.
Wow. Do you have Lakota heritage yourself?
I don't, but I think in a past life I did.
Well, thank you. Well, I hope that you will keep that horsey, his breed moving forward. And thank you for choosing that beautiful sun card. I appreciate it. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to get into our reading. So, before we do that, let's take a quick look at the other cards in the major arcana and the minor arcana. We looked at the majors. We saw our Fool card. And we saw the rest of the majors. So there's 22 cards, but there are 56 more. So even more than double the amount more cards in the minors, what's called the minors. And if you look at these, you can probably tell that it looks a bit like the ancestors of our playing cards. I keep playing with our layout here, but I think that this other one was a little better. As we look left to right, we can see the wands, which relates to the clubs, the cups, which relates to our hearts, the suit of the hearts, like the Queen of Hearts kind of thing. The swords card relates to what is the suit of the spades, and then the pentacles relates to the diamonds. If we would take these as we see them left to right, but imagine them kind of flipped top to bottom, they really represent the idea of how an idea can go from inception or from the emanation of the idea down into the material plane, which is represented with the Pentacles card with the coin on the right side. So let's say the wands, this is fire. This is the initial spark, the initial kind of idea that we would get. And we really don't know where our ideas come from. We receive them, we respond to them, but we don't exactly make them. They come to us from someplace. And so that's that fiery suit of the wands. And you can see that the knight on the bottom is kind of off and running with this idea. And then we also have the cups card. So if you're going to have any idea, it's going to need to be cared about enough for you to do anything with it. Otherwise, it's just going to kind of go away. And so that care is the emotional investment of the cups. You can see down below that we have that knight. He's very courtly, and he's got a kind of quest, like a holy grail with his cups there, and there's lots of water symbols down there. And then if we're going to take that idea that we care about and do anything with it, we probably have to make a plan and make the list and start kind of figuring out the actual things that need to be done. And that's the intellectual process, or the rational process. That's the intellect of the swords, the air suit. And you can see that knight, he's got his idea, and he's off and running with that idea. And then finally, we have in the material plane, in the flesh, so to speak, if this thing is going to make it into the flesh, that's the pentacles. Why is there a 5-pointed star? Because our flesh, we have 5 senses. And that's what that's representing, is we have our sight and our sound and our taste and our smell and our touch. And that is our currency. You know, we've got our body, and our senses are our currency in the world. And these other functions, the mental function of the swords, the emotional function of the cups, and then this idea function of the wands, those are all kind of outside of time and outside of the physical body. But those pentacles on that far right side, look down at that knight below. His horse isn't even moving. You're a horsey girl. That horse is just guarding. And so that horse is guarding the field, which has been freshly plowed, because it requires time for that crop to grow, time for people to be able to harvest and get fed and not starve and all that kind of stuff. And so one thing that's true about the suit of the pentacles is that it's slow, because things have to happen in time here on the earth plane, which is what that one represents. Let's take a quick look at the rest of the suits here, and I'm going to take us off camera just for a moment so we can look at the wands 1 through 10, and then the court cards that have lots of fiery symbols. These would be like progressions of an idea, the creative process. In the cups, This would be progressions of emotional relationships, say some family circumstances, just feelings that we have, and look at all the watery symbols in those court cards. And then the swords, it gets kind of cold in the swords because it's just about the thinking, and that's not informed by anything else. And so that requires a certain coolness or rationality, which, by the way, you want if you need surgery or you have an army going in somewhere. They kind of need to take care of business. They can't be getting too dramatic. And look at all the air signs in those court cards. And then finally here in the pentacle suit, some people call it the coins, the signs of earth and resources responsibility. You can see all the signs of fertility and crops and plants and animals and things down in the court cards. Which takes us now to our reading that we're going to do together here with Heather. And Heather, you can focus us, or we can see what the cards are going to say. You'll let us know in a moment. Here we're going to look at the top card, which is the issue at hand, the top middle. And then we're going to have on the bottom timeline. What happened first? What happened next? What happened after that? That might be anchored in the present, and we might be looking at the future, or we might be looking at something that kind of happened already, but that we're thinking about because it's important. And then we have advice, maybe be cautious, a cautionary card on the top left, and a more supportive direction to take on the top right. And then as we consider all of that, we'll consider another 7th card here for perspective as we get into the reading. And so that's basically what we're going to be doing today. Heather, might you have any questions at this point?
No, I don't have any.
So that sounds good. Kefri, how you doing over there? Would you like to pull the cards?
I'm fine. Yeah,
Okay.
I can pull the cards if you want,
Okay.
Alison. And I am shuffling, Heather, and you say stop where you want to stop to be.
Stop.
There. And do you want to cut the cards, and how many times do you want to cut them?
3 times.
3 times. 1 and 2 and number 3, and there we go. We look at the subject card first, and there we have the 9 of Pentacles. Then we look at the past card, and there we have the Empress card. Empress. And then we look at the present, and there we have the 6 of Swords. And the future, and there we have the Page of Pentacles. And, the Page of Pentacles, it should be there. And the cautionary card, there we have the 10 of Cups. 10 of Cups. And the advice card, there we have the 2 of Swords. And we wait with the 7th card for some time. There we are.
Thank you, Kefri. Okay, and I laid them out over here because it is so tiny on my new little computer here.
Yeah.
In front of me here. Okay, so I would say that we're starting. Let's go ahead and put up, Kefri, if you don't mind. Let's put up that 9 of Pentacles as the significator card. And so there you are, Miss Heather, in your garden, in your independence, in your identity, in your survival, in your wholeness, in all of the things that you have managed to kind of preserve, maintain, and create about yourself in your identity. So I would say that as a survivor, you have survived beautifully, and this is your kind of thriving self. And this is a beautiful gift. And I imagine that in your head is this desire to share it with the world as soon as possible, as soon as possible. And this is a process that has taken a minute for you. And so a very similar card to this 9 of Pentacles here is the card that's in our past position in the Empress. Let's take a look at our Empress there. Kefri can put that up for us. And thank you. So this also, as we saw that 9 in her garden with her falcon and in her beautiful robe, here we also have this Empress with her beautiful robe. And so I wonder if you in your recovery, in your life recently, and in general, what this has proven to you is how important it is for you to retain your feminine identity and your motherly identity and your creativity. You mentioned being an artist, and so this idea of kind of being at home in your creativity and being encouraged within your own being to kind of be productive, to send forth creative gifts. And so if there's this idea that as much suffering as you've been going through, this has also been a really fertile period for you in terms of your creative product, in terms of your feelings, and in terms of also perhaps solidifying your family relationships, or at least solidifying your identity. Do you have children, by the way?
I don't.
You don't. Okay. So this is the traditional motherhood card. And so and I don't know the kind of cancer or anything that you had, but the idea that you are a whole woman, and that's getting affirmed, is an important thing for you to kind of have anchored within yourself. So you call yourself a horse girl, a horsey girl, but this experience has taken you into full out adulthood. For sure, because you confronted death, and so in that way, as mothers do, in bringing forth life, you're confronting all the dangers that is, and so this has brought a depth, shall we say, to your experience that, like childbirth would do, like any kind of big life experience would do. It has really kind of given you an anchor as a woman, and it's also been, perhaps you're a very independent woman, and that's very much represented by the 9 of Pentacles above there. But as we look at this middle card, which is the 6 of Swords card, I don't know which one of these you are, but I have a feeling that it might be the one, the 2 seated in there, because perhaps in this you've been, even though you're really independent and you like to do things yourself and stuff like that, you had to have things done for you. You had to let yourself get taken care of. You had to let other people tell you what to do and how to get there and how to get to the happy shore from this very rocky place that you were with this diagnosis, or with all the emotions that those diagnoses bring up and all of the everything. And so you maybe had to trust other people the way you never could trust other people before, to take care of you or to take care of business while you couldn't, or whatever the case may be. Maybe it just meant accepting help, whereas before you were like, oh, no, I can do it myself, I can do it myself, I can do it myself. And now you had to accept help because you just couldn't.
Right.
Yeah. And that's okay, because that's a balancing thing, because it's a little out of balance for us to try to do everything for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little out of balance for us to be out of community. Mm-hmm. And so it gave you the opportunity to let a balance take place where other people could perhaps pay you back or return the favor, that kind of idea where they could take charge of you for a little while, the way you perhaps have done for them at other times. And that is a balancing thing. And 6 is a place of balance in the tarot. We can put up a little image later on of the colors. But as we look at the colors here, we can also see that there's kind of an inverted V where there's a beautiful lot of yellow in the card. And that yellow, that golden yellow color is representative of the heart center of the tree of life. It's representative of the Christ consciousness inside of one. And it's also the color of that cloaked figure in the boat that we're seeing there. And so cloaked with that protection and steered by someone else who has a bit more earthiness, darker shade colors, kind of pulling that boat across the difficult waters. You cloaked yourself in that, or you have done, you've cloaked yourself in that protection and let yourself be taken care of. And maybe that meant accepting medical care that you weren't so sure about. Maybe radical procedures that you would have been horrified to contemplate if somebody else had said they were going to do it. But now when it was your turn, it was like, yeah, well, okay, I do want to live, you know. And I've been there. I've been that horrible person saying, well, you know, to make some poor doctor who has years and years of study explain themselves to me, who was scared because I read on the internet that it was going to hurt me or something, you know. But letting yourself be taken care of by scary swords, maybe surgery. Maybe that's surgery too, with all those swords in there. And then looking at what's upcoming after this 6 of Swords, as we look at that Page of Pentacles, we can take a look at, at that page and look how that golden sky and the golden coin, and there's so much beautiful golden light about this one. Now you're kind of got on in mind, well, how can I bring this to the world? I have had this kind of experience. I've had this creative output. I want to see how I could take what I've been through and plant this as a seed and see what it could do. How might it help others? How might it help me? What business could I do? And so it's, right now you're contemplating some directions for yourself that are very concrete, which is represented by that Page of Pentacles. Let's take a look at some of the advice cards because they're a little bit counterintuitive here. As we look on the left, this is the recommendation. This is the counter recommendation or the cautionary card. And so I would say with this card that it's possible that you want your whole family to be behind you on this. And you're ready to tell the world and celebrate it, and you want the world to celebrate it and all this kind of stuff. But as I look at the other side, I have a feeling that there's still some things that are to be resolved. And so it's possible that you won't get the satisfaction of your family loving this. It's possible that you won't get the satisfaction of everybody celebrating how brilliant you are. That may come later, I don't know, but at the moment, if you're counting on that, I would say that that might be a difficult thing to gain, and that doesn't have anything to do with you or the quality of what you're talking about or anything like that, but it may have to do with an emotional need of you said you've been doing some work on your inner child, so it may be the need of that child to have everybody say, yes, you're wonderful. Yes, it's fantastic. And yes, but everybody's got their own trip and they may just not have that much extra to offer you at this point. They may be struggling in their own ways. And then as we look at this other card, which is the recommendation card, the supportive card for you there with this 2 of Swords, I see this as being a recommendation of pause, because right now you're at the beginning. The Ace represents the very, very beginning. The Ace is like the seed, but the 2 is the beginning. And the beginning right now is the plan. And so I'm thinking that it's the plan may still need some fleshing out. There may still be some things you haven't decided, or there may be some things that you're not quite seeing yet. And if we look at this card, we could see that if she wanted to, this figure could put the swords down and take off the blindfold if she wanted to, but there's a reason why she's still hesitating and she's still a bit guarded right now. It may be that the phase of the moon isn't quite right now. It may be that those waters, the emotional waters, are still a little bit too churning right now to make a solid decision. And so it's appropriate then to hold off making a decision if indeed the time is not right. And so I would say that right now you could give yourself the gift of time in order to make the best plan possible, or to have all of what you want to do start clarifying itself a bit more, because you may be so much at the beginning right now and so much at that seed with that page of pentacles, with the idea, with the business idea, that there may be something that you still need to learn, and at some level you kind of know it, and so it's appropriate to hold off for a minute before, let's say, you have a big lunch party. With that 10, you get the idea. This may just be the investigation period while you talk to some lawyers, because maybe there's some legal stuff, maybe there's some stuff around promises made, or who knows what, it's worth knowing before you jump into business. Maybe you just need an LLC before the money comes in so that you have someplace to put it and you won't have tax trouble down the line. There may be initial, just kind of beginning stuff that needs to get lined up that isn't quite in place yet. So there's a readiness factor that's not quite there. So as we wait for that seventh card, Heather, one thing I didn't mention before is that I tend to read at how would these cards play out at an everyday level, and maybe at a little bit of a psychological level. And then Kefri's going to kind of pick it up from there and look at how these cards might be representing what's happening inside you in your spiritual development. And so I'm going to hand off to Kefri right now as we turn up the fire hose for you. Good thing we're recording this. And might you have any questions at this point, or are you good just kind of listening?
No, I'm still good. That's very interesting.
Okay, cool. So I'll be back, and let's talk a little bit about what these cards might mean spiritually.
Thank you, Alison. I am looking a bit deeper at those cards, and I see this as the period after your cancer, Heather. And it is like, even if this had been awful and everything, there is a door that has been opened here for you, and that is a door to something new, and that has to do with balancing both yourself and others as you have gone through this. And I think that you are in a position for the moment that Alison also has been touching on, that you are trying or is finding a foundation to work out from to help the world, so to speak. But I also think that you feel a bit alone in this position, because it's like, yeah, I've gone through this and I have a foundation to stand on, both security and in myself and everything, and I want to reach out to others and everything. But it is like, yes, that's that, but how do I do it, and how do I get out of this isolation that I feel in this stage of going out to the world with my help? And it is like, for the moment, you are trying to bring in spiritual energy, I would say, into this foundation to make it ascend higher, so to speak. And also that you are preparing yourself to be that type of figure that can help others as a sort of an initiator, telling them what to do and how to heal. And it's like a spiritual surgery here, I would say. And Alison has been touching on the word surgery, but I see see it like it's a spiritual surgery that you can provide, actually. And that is a help to balance other people in this. And also in the future, and I also think it has already begun to happen, it is also a sort of a grace you feel for the material world in a way that you can use your resources to build something that has to do with this ascension process, helping others to find a sort of a balance, and at the same time as you balancing yourself, actually. And then we have those advice cards here that is a bit peculiar, but I read them like, don't expect everything to be an development immediately, because things has to set themselves, because this has to do with when you bring in this type of spiritual energies in this foundation where you are standing for the moment, and it has to set itself a bit, that balance. And the advice here with this Two of Swords card is, be in balance yourself, even if it doesn't feel like it is completed and exactly what you expected it should be or what you want to do, because that stage will come later. Be in balance, feeling in what is the wisdom in this type of balance you want to give to the world. And don't hurry it, that it should be a big development for you and for others at this stage, because there is a sort of a wisdom you must find in your role as an initiator in this kind of situations. And also look at, for the resources you want to use for this, look at how you can use them in just not one way, but in numerous way, like you are spreading several seeds here, and see which one takes form, so to speak, which will be the best trees of what you have been sowing those seeds. So that is also important. Don't lock yourself into one thing, and then if that doesn't function, you don't have any other solutions. Try to diversify it, so to speak, with several seeds and several areas where it can bring some results. But also be in the balance, even if you don't feel it is completed. And it isn't completed, because there are more things to do that has to do with converting this foundation into something spiritual, so to speak. And also this cautionary card is like, don't try to activate those emotional energies without the spiritual field or the inner soul plane, because that is what you are searching for the moment. And wait until you find it, so you know exactly how to adapt those energies, because they should not be adapted on a mundane plane. They should be adapted in that spot that Alison was talking about. That is, the name of that spot is beauty, so to speak, and that is also the Christian energy, the the light energy, the crystals and everything that is in that spot. And that is also the spot where we as human being is meeting the higher energies. So wait until you feel safe that you have reached that spot and use the energies there. And I stop there. Thank you. And we will take the 7th card, and it is the Magician, actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, it's a beautiful thing to see. And then right now, Kefri is going to go to town because now we have 2 major cards, which means 2 Hebrew letters, which you can find some words. So we'll go to an additional little dimension there. And then after that, when we take a look at those things, we can also look at the Tree of Life so we can see some more of that golden, beautiful energy, because right there, another card with all, look at the beautiful balance in this card. And so it's so interesting to see the this kind of expression on the recommendation, and then that different kind of diagonal with this. And so you are certainly in the process of bringing down beautiful spiritual energies from the heavens into the garden. And look where you were. We started the reading with you in the garden there, and this Magician is bringing it down to the garden. That Sun card that you were so attracted to is the cult. We had that big beautiful banner of red, and this is the cloak of the Magician. And it's also the cushions of that Empress card. And so lots of wonderful, and then the red of the roses. And so the passion that you feel and the purity of your intent is all there with the roses and the lilies. And so overall, the Magician is giving form to the formless, and perhaps even voice to the voiceless, because it may well be that the language you speak and the affirmations, for example, that you are sharing with people, and your work and in its many facets as it develops, because I agree with Kefri that page is holding a seed, but it could go in lots of different ways. So you may want to be planting like the wildflower mix instead of a single crop. So you can see what really anchors and where, because also there's that, I mean, we're going a little nuts with the biblical things, but that idea of, you cast your seed and it goes on stone, or it goes in fertile soil, or it goes, it has to find the fertile soil. It has to find the willing and receptive person or mind or soul or spirit in that way. And so may the magic and the power of this Magician accompany your beautiful mission. I think that it's a beautiful accompaniment. Also, just the red and goldness, the red, gold, and whiteness of these cards as a through line is a beautiful thing, because not all the colors have these, not all the cards have these colors, and yet you have a profusion of the cards with these beautiful, beautiful energies in them. And so I encourage you to use all the tools at your disposal, not just the one, to consider all of the ways in which you might convey your message and communicate your truth, and that you keep it really aimed high. And even though you're bringing it to folks who might be laid low, the energy is coming from on high. It's not coming from like, ooh, let's party. It's really coming from let's really celebrate with a capital C at a deep level. Kefri, as you see the Magician overall here, and we think about the card, how does this enhance the reading that
for me, this enhances the reading in a beautiful way, because deeper in, if we look at the Hebrew letter that is representing this card, it's the letter Bet, and that means house, and it means a house for the spirit, and that is exactly what I have been talking about in this reading, that there must be a way to find an entrance of the spiritual energies, so to speak, making this foundation more in contact with the spiritual world. And that is stressed here now. And we also have this conductor that the magician is, with his position being a conductor for these higher energies that is going through him from the up and down and the down and up. And also we have the elements of the tarot on the table. So also you was talking about Hedda that you was working with oracle cards, and all those tools, tarot, oracle, or whatever you have, if you have other esoterical tools at hand, all those are very useful to bring in these type of energies into the foundation you already have with the 9 of Pentacles there, but that you want to be more spiritual, so to speak. And there is also a word here, and going from down to up, so to speak, from the Empress to the magician. It's a name there, and it is bear. So there is a bear. There could be a bear as a manly force of a sort of protective energies, actually, or something. And looking at it from the other way, going from up to down, so to speak, and perhaps getting some idea what's coming down, if you would say that is quite interesting, because that is several words there, and it's cloth, and it's fabric, and it's canvas, it's material, it's textile, and it's pole, and it's staff, and it's branch, and it's part and portion. And I wonder if this has to do with T-shirts, actually, that you should get out your try to get out with your message with a form of a product or something that could help or stress your brand, so to speak, your brand as not that you should create a fashion brand, but a brand for your what services you are offering, so to speak, and building a sort of a team or something. That is what I get out of it, that it could be a business idea to stress what you are standing for, so to speak. So
and with a focus on like fabrics and textiles and things like that. Is that why you were saying the T-shirts or like little flags or banners?
Yeah. All of it. There is a pole also, so it could very much be a flag also, or a staff.
I love those ones that hang outside people's houses. You know, they have little flags on their pole, or a little, like a little seal or a banner. Those are fun. Little messages. Yeah. So this is the Crazy Tarot Flow, my dear. I thank you for subjecting yourself to it. I hope that it has been relevant or meaningful for you.
It's been amazing. It feels like you're talking to my inner voice. So I appreciate that very much. And it's interesting that you say about, I guess what you're referring to is like products of some sort to, is it promote or to just brand me? Is that what you're referring to?
Could be both, but I think it is about branding you.
Okay.
That was what I came first to me here when I saw those words.
Okay. I like
so
that.
It's not that. Yeah, it's not that you should go out.
A teddy bear with a little flag.
Yeah. Could be, but it's not that you should go out and be rich by selling T-shirts. No, it's that you should selling T-shirts because more of a brand for you, so to speak.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Well, Heather, you are welcome to come back anytime. You're welcome to invite people to consider themselves to come on the show and experience this divination.
Awesome.
And I thank you so much for being here with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Now, I usually put our poor guests on the spot, so I'm going to do the same thing to you. So what words of wisdom? So if you would think of like words that maybe one of your most important affirmations that you would share with someone who says, Heather, what am I going to do to get my mind right? What would you tell people?
Shift your perspective. It's all in the perspective. It's how you're looking at it. That can change everything.
And what's an example of a shift way to do it? How was there a shift that you went through that made a difference for you?
I mean, just the initial shift when I was diagnosed was that instead of focusing on what is this going to look like, what is this journey going to be, and kind of getting into that fear space, I embraced it and asked the question, why is this happening for me, not to me? So that helped to shift my mindset and has brought me where I am now.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I thank you so much. And what can this perspective do for us? What can any experience do for us as we consider it is a wonderful way to achieve that alchemy. Oh, Kefri, would you mind putting up that flower of life, tree of life image so that we can just show this kind of color wheel? I don't know if you've seen the Kabbalistic tree of life. This is a particular motif for it. So if we imagine this to be like from the heavens all the way down to us, and we're down at that very bottom one that's divided into 4.
Okay.
That central place where we travel up the middle. And you can kind of see as an artist, you can see that you have the white, black, and gray at the top. And then you have the primary colors in the middle with the red, yellow, and blue. And then you've got the secondaries down below that with the orange and the red and the purple. And then you've got the shades down below when you bring in the black. And so those are an interesting way to look at this. But the place where there's a great deal of power and about as high up as we can get is that golden place. And that's where it's called Tifaret, it's called beauty, it's called the place of Christ consciousness. And it's kind of the place where if heaven comes down and we can get up as far as we can, that's the place that it centers around there. And so we noticed in your cards that there was just all kinds of lovely, lovely golden light cloaking you in the sky around you, in your hands as your prize. And we look forward to seeing what beautiful things you bring forth as you bring forth what is within you, which is such a beautiful heart and soul. So thank you, Heather Mullen, for being with us today. We appreciate you and wish you nothing but the best and full recovery and spiritual reach for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kefri Scarabus, for giving your insight as always. And from the Tarot Flow Show, we say thank you to everybody for joining us today, and all the best to everyone. May you all be blessed in your lives. Take care, everybody.